Yo!
Hello, everyone.
All right, little late start this morning.
Yeah, sorry about that. Some technical difficulties, but we're here.
Welcome, everyone, to What's Going On. Grace and I are here together in person today for the first time ever. Well, first time doing
On
this
the
show
show.
ever. Really exciting. Grace, where are we coming from today?
We are in San Francisco at Kapwing HQ, so you might see like other people from Kapwing walking around in the back. Yeah, it's a good time. How's your experience been back in SF, Jack?
Yeah, I'm back visiting Kapwing HQ. It's been good. Happy to be here. Happy we can finally do this show live. Let us know in the chat where you're coming from, or if you're also on vacation like me. So today we have on a very special guest, a friend of ours, friend of Kapwing, and winner of the Kapwing Creators Fund, who is a filmmaker, has won many awards for his films. We're super excited to have him on today. His name is Adam, and why don't we bring him on stage?
Let's
All
go.
Right, let's get it.
Yo!
So these aren't just crazy glasses. These are, augmented reality, which is another thing that's, going to be huge in film and just experimenting with some things here and there. So happy to talk a little bit about the future.
Whoa, very cool.
A little bit, but I am honored to be a part of your guys' show, and it's so good to see you guys again. Thanks for having me on.
Always, yeah, super excited to have you on. We're very impressed by you. Ever since you won the Kapwing Creators Fund, you've been, doing so much cool stuff. So we're excited to chat. Why don't you introduce yourself? I feel like you can probably introduce yourself better than we can.
Okay, so I'm Adam Juegos. I'm a filmmaker currently based in New York City. New York City is my home now. Originally from the West Coast. Went to NYU for film. I don't know if I'm sure you guys have seen the TikTok where the guy's like, I'm an NYU film school graduate. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
No. I don't think so.
So I have to send that to you. It's like this older gentleman. It's funny, and it's a New York kind of thing. But I'll send that to you. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I do film production. I've always been into storytelling. I started as a photographer when I was very, very young. And then, I had a camera, I had a video function, and I started doing, film. And one thing led to another. I got to go, the wonderful opportunity to go to NYU for film school. And now I'm here. I have a production company. We're doing some commercial work, just wrapping up my first feature film. And then one of the films I did at NYU, The Porns, won some awards, and it's a crazy, weird film. And there it is. So
Here it is.
The IMDb page, nonetheless.
Yes.
It's got a good rating, over 9 stars. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, we can watch a little bit of the trailer, I suppose.
Mom, have you seen my laptop? Give me my laptop, Tony!
No, go ahead and get out!
Porn, Tony, porn, Tony!
Why'd you keep on watching porns? Why'd you keep on watching? Why'd you keep on watching? Porns, Tony, porns, Tony! Why'd you keep on watching porns? Why'd you keep on watching porns?
Mayday, West Eastern 1569. We've got loss of instrumentation controls, a severe signal interference.
Wow, what a ride.
Nice.
The Porns is the story of the son of the first North Korean ambassador to the United States, and he becomes addicted to
pornography. What do you think of pornography?
Love it.
Bring back the memories.
Yeah, it definitely does. That was the second film I did at NYU, and I'm glad you already had it pulled up, because I always tell people like, oh yeah, look up, the Porns. Other stuff comes up if you just Google that. So,
Yeah.
Make sure it's the IMDb page, so it's family friendly.
Yeah.
But it's not. There's no for anyone else who's watching, it's not porn. It's like it's a comedy, like PG-13, about the son of the first North Korean ambassador to the United States, who comes here. And if you're not familiar, pornography is very, very illegal in North Korea, and it's even in South Korea, it's restricted. by their internet access. So, based loosely on a somewhat true story about a friend of mine from Korea.
Interesting.
And I always thought it was just a fascinating thing, culture clash, and it became this silly, wild musical comedy that people ended up enjoying. So yeah, fun little project.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool that, I mean, okay, so I'll add this back onto the stream, I guess, just so people know what we're talking about. This, you're a young guy, you're like a film student, or just finished up film school, and you made this short, and it won like a ton of awards. Dare I say a ton? I think, yeah, look right here, 15 wins, 18 nominations. That's pretty big. For like a bunch of film festivals, which I feel like is a huge, like, I don't know, congratulations are in order. It's a huge deal.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think it's just like a really awesome, I don't know, like inspiration for people who are interested in film beyond content creation. I think there's, we talk a lot about content here, and I think in many ways that's similar, but it's also like very different from film as like an art form. But I think there's a lot of people who really enjoy both, or like try to start content creating so it will lead into film. So really interested in like getting your take today as a filmmaker. Can you just like explain how you got started in film? Because obviously like that's a huge deal. You're working on a feature film now, not just a short. Like how did that even lead up to this?
So I've always, as a kid, even when I was really young, well, I say small, but not like that small. When I was very young, I my dad used to read me like bedtime stories, and he was in the fire department. So he wasn't, he was there every couple weeks. So when he wasn't there, he'd write these like elaborate stories about this character he created called Mr. Coconut. And he'd tell me like these things called coconut stories. And it was this whole universe. And I was always really inspired by his ability. And he was just, he wasn't really, he liked art, but he wasn't an artist by trade. He was a career, fireman for like 30 years.
Wow.
But he just came up with these stories, and it really had a huge impact on me. And I was like, and I just love these universes. And it's like, he came up with this. So a regular guy made the story. And I was always like, you know what? I can make a story too. I can do this. And then finally, when I got a camera, I was like, hey, I'll go out and make my own story. It wasn't like, this is this whole other thing where there's these, big storytellers where it's like an impossible thing. It's something that we can all participate in at any level, no matter who you are or what you do. And that's just, that's kind of how I started on the small end. Worked for a few years while I was in college in a couple TV series behind the scenes. Got a chance to get a taste of the real industry, so to speak. And then I went to NYU Film, graduated, did this short film, got a little bit of attention here and there, won some awards, which I was shocked that we got so many people who like the film. And then now, just by coincidence, like any New York story, we met this wonderful artist on the corner of a street corner, and he turned out to be the artist who was doing these mosaic lampposts. We'd seen these for years on the street, but we'd never seen the artist before. Incredible story, incredible person, and he shared with us his life story for like 4 hours. We were on that corner.
Wow.
And my friend Jeff and I, the other Juegos bro, we were like, we were talking like, what's our next thing? What are we gonna do next? What's our next film? And then we're like, all right, this is it. We're gonna make a documentary. We did a short about it, and we were gonna put it out. We said, you know what? Let's just make this a feature. And it's all done now. It's all shot. Over 500 hours of footage.
Wow.
Hundreds of hours of like these, high 8 or super 8 millimeter tapes from New York from the 1970s and on. It's like, it's incredible stuff. And we're very, very fortunate to have had the opportunity to just like, not only get a hold of this stuff, get access, but, become friends with this artist who's really been beaten down by the city and really embodies a lot of, issues in today's world, on both ends. And the classic artist struggle, where he's done so much in my opinion for the city. He's created all this art, but it's so many forces are holding him back, including himself. And where we feel as storytellers that we have the responsibility to tell that story. and I'll kind of segue that into content creation. I feel like a lot of content creators, they really like, you feel a need to tell a story. Like it could be, forget Oscar, Academy Award winning film. You could have the same instinct or desire to tell this funny story about a guy who stubs his toe on a corner, and make it a TikTok, and or you could say, you know what, I want to tell Dune in the right way or something like that. And it's there's no every artist has that instinct and that kind of compulsion to create. So I don't think there's any there's no like difference. I used to think there was a difference, but it's no. So you have a compulsion to create it, and you can do whatever you want. I don't know. That's just what I feel. But anyway, I don't know if that answered your question. But that's where I got to where I'm at now, on the cusp of hopefully in the next week or so announcing the film itself as an official project, hopefully getting some press and raising some finishing funds for it, and then we'll see where it goes.
Awesome.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious
a lot of
about
information.
I'm curious about your new film. So it's a feature film. I'm curious about, I know this is vague, but like what it's like, especially compared to creating a short film. How much time did it take? Like, how long did you work on this project? Maybe even also like, what was the budget, or did you have very limited budget? And how does that work? How do you even find funds to create something? Or do you just like take that out of, your own funds? Really curious about like, the investment of both time and money that it takes to make like a feature film.
Right. So the budget is this
Zero.
right now, which is, that's the beauty of documentary, is that you could have a camera and you could tell a story, and it's a lot more forgiving. I know like certain, even if this were to, fingers crossed, ever get on a large streaming platform or something like that, the flexibility on what you can shoot on is a lot better, because I'm always under the philosophy of, shoot on whatever you have. The camera doesn't matter so much, but if on a certain level, you have to shoot with certain, codecs and all that stuff. But for a documentary, it's more forgiving. So it's always easier, if it's your first film, not God forbid, but fortunately, if it does take off, then you're not like, oh shoot, sorry, you can't get on Netflix or something like that.
Yeah.
Because you didn't shoot it in the right format. That's, documentary is always and that's just a technical note. But I'll tell you a little story about the director of the Joker, Todd Phillips. Before he did that, he did, a couple other movies, the Hangover series, which he said was his Star Wars. He actually went to NYU. I know, it's funny, right? But I think it's a $1 billion franchise / trilogy. So he was always like, you know what, this is my Star Wars, which I think is a cool concept.
Yeah.
And that, he did finance a lot of that himself and made out pretty well. So good for him. I think I actually saw him on the stoop of a brownstone to the west of Washington Square Park not too long ago, and I was like, was that him? I don't know. And then I was like, gonna go say hi, and then he was already gone. But anyway, if he ever sees this, or maybe we'll cross paths one of these days.
Yeah. That's cool.
But interesting thing about him, he went to NYU. He actually studied under the same documentary professor that I had. And his first foray into film was documentary too. And it's, I think part of it is he was able to create, his first feature film as a documentary. And it was this really, there was I can't remember which was first. It was one on Gigi Allen, which is a very like grungy punk character. He was in prison. Some of the stuff I can't even talk about on air.
PG.
That's right. But he did this really, really, really crazy film, and it was a feature film, and he just went all out because there was you didn't really have to have a budget. You were able to you could just pick up a camera, make it, and he had the drive and vision to do that. And it ended up being this hugely successful, student project. And now he's one of the top film directors, film producers out there. And I think there's a lot of, creators out there who might take a similar path where they're saying, you know what, we can create it. It doesn't have to be documentary, of course, but it's just, that's where I see it as you don't really have to have a budget to just create the product itself or the film itself. And then, if it ends up being something, a little bit bigger than you imagined and other people can see that, then you could raise finishing funds, which we're going to do next. or I could just, you know, sit behind a computer and you know, go at it for a couple months and then, you know, put something out there. But at this point, you know, the best thing for the film is for us to try to raise external funding. But that's just, you know, that's the path that I've seen as a possibility. Everyone tries to follow other people, but, you know, you just do whatever you think is the right, you know, whatever is the whatever, you know, whatever you think is the right path. So yeah, so we started with no budget. I just picked up a camera, started recording. You know, we have tons and tons of footage. I edited together a trailer with Jeff, and that's what we're kind of using now to shop around. You know, for finishing funds, we're going to probably do a Kickstarter project. So we'll film that, and then we'll see. You know, the big expense at this point is licensing and editing, and then, you know, and then the real, on a technical standpoint, or just, you know, from the back end, the next thing would be either to, you know, get it into film festivals, you know, again, fingers crossed, get it into film festivals, and then a studio or distribution studio or someone might pick it up and try to purchase it. If, you know, again, this is if people like it, and I hope people do. I think it's an important story. But they'll, you know, possibly pick it up and it could be out there, or we'll try to distribute it ourselves, or we'll put it on, you know, online, or, you know, or, you know, someone says, hey, put it on our platform. You know, there's and this is like, you know, I don't have anything else to my name other than the porns. There's like nothing else to my name. It's not like I'm coming from, you know, having gotten lucky to direct some big project or something like that. So it's anyone, you know, anyone can do something like this.
Yeah, this is fascinating because I feel like I made YouTube videos and stuff, but that's so different. It's like hearing the process of it is fascinating. But I'm also wondering, like, how do you even go about editing something like this? I mean, if you have like 500 hours of footage, like, do you imagine, I guess you're talking about the finishing funds, and then maybe that will help. You can like hire editors, or what does that process look like? Right.
So every editor, at every level is like different. Their process might be different. Like, you know, the platforms are very similar. The nonlinear editors are similar. Like, you put clips in, you can kind of sort through things. But on the feature, you know, it blew my mind, you know, trying to edit anything, even the porns was insane, because there's like 9 takes of every single thing. There's the music, there's this and that. And, you know, not that it's not doable, it was just like a huge thing. And then now to think back in the day when people were, you know, they were printing out like single stills of each scene from film and then stitching everything together, and it was usually just one person and like an editing assistant and like a bunch of reels of film in a trailer out in the middle of nowhere, depending on where you're editing. It's like, I'm like, I can never complain. You know, you can never complain. But it's, you know, it depends on what your process is like. You know, some people, they cut based on an emotion. There's also a gentleman named Walter Murch, who I think edited Apocalypse Now, and his whole thing is, if you get in the state of mind, you'll notice that, you know, the cuts are on when people blink their eyes. And I think he had a book written called In the Blink of an Eye about his style of editing, where if you time it right, you know, the audience will blink at a certain time, you know, based on the media. That's when you cut. So there's like a bunch of little technical things here and there on that. I'm sorry, the ADHD is a little, I'm jumping all over.
No, this is interesting,
But, you know, and that kind of influences how you structure things from the very beginning. Like, okay, am I going to go into the scene from the script? Am I going to edit it, you know, based on the script and use that, you know, use emotion to guide me, or use the blink, you know, the blink method. Other people, and the way I kind of like to do it is I'll you know, draw out on, like, I got like old Amazon boxes, and like I get a Sharpie and I just draw out the scenes, all the things that happen. Especially, you know, documentary is different from narrative in that, you know, you got to take all this other stuff and kind of fit it, or make the clearest story. You know, I guess like Panning for Gold, you wait for the heaviest moments to kind of sift through, and then string them together in the right way. But, you know, I guess the simplest possible thing, if someone's like, hey, I want to make a film, is just, you know, get all your scenes in order, organize everything, and then kind of pop things in and out and see what works. And then if you're editing multiple scenes, I break everything down into little bits. So it'll be like, you know, one scene is edited and it's tight. Then you can go to the next scene, it's edited and that's, you know, tight. And then you can kind of go back and forth and say, oh, wait, you know what, this little thing has to be changed because this piece of dialogue later, you know, happens, and then I can pop something back in. But it's, I mean, you'll get the, you know, if you're starting to edit, or so, you know, for someone who's starting to to edit something bigger, you'll get the hang of it. You just start editing, and everything will kind of fall into place.
Right. Yeah. When you were done with your short film and it started winning like a bunch of these awards, did this give you like any new like opportunities to then move on to create something bigger, or was that just like something that you like decided to do yourself? Like, what's the result of like, being in film festivals, and does it help your career like long term, or do you have to like constantly make room for yourself,
Right. I'll step back just a little bit and discuss that. When we first made that film, it started as a screenplay in a different class as a joke, and we were never going to make this. We're like, what's the craziest film we could possibly think of that's hilarious? And we're just having fun, zero intent to actually make it. And we did it, and it was a fun thing. Everyone laughed, the plane scene, whatever. And it was actually the night, like, I probably shouldn't say, but I spent the whole week like playing Halo for this other class, which was, which they, you're supposed to pitch a film, and then I'm like, shoot, wait, what? I don't have a screenplay, and I said, you know what? I'll take the screenplay from this class I did, and I did it in front of the class, and it got to the point where it was like the plane scene, interior Boeing 747 day. Everyone's like, that's impossible. You're never gonna make it. And then we're like, no, we have to make it. So we made the film. We did it. We did the plane scene, and everyone got a huge kick out of it because they said it was like, nobody imagined we'd actually be able to get it done, and we did it. And then we had a film, but there was no, like, we weren't thinking, oh, well, let's submit it to festivals and stuff. We're just focused on, with what we have, the resources we have. We had 2 weeks to get it done. Let's make the best, film possible. And we weren't thinking about anything else. We weren't thinking, oh, let's do these awards and stuff like that. And I think that's an important thing too, is like, no matter what, I kind of get distracted now too, thinking about the film, thinking about, oh, let's get this into this festival, for the feature. Like, oh, maybe I'll get this deadline done. But I think that, you should kind of put all that aside, just make the best possible film that you can, make the best possible thing, or even before that, plan out the best possible shoot and stuff like that from every level. But to get to your point, Jack, because I kind of like meandering a little bit. To get to your point, we didn't intend to like put it out there or anything. It was like later on where I was like, hey, you know what? We had this film done. Maybe we'll submit it to one festival. And it was the first festival that we had submitted like any of our NYU films to. It was called Rhino Comedy Film Festival, and that was in upstate New York. And we submitted. And then we got a call, like a couple of weeks later. Hey, we're going to give you guys, best director. Get your A out to the festival. And look, it's not it's not Cannes or Sundance or anything, but it was like we were really like, oh wow, people actually like this stuff, like the comedy, recognize this, and we're very fortunate to do that. So I think it's part of it is the marketing too. Like, we put together the poster, we put together this package, and I wrote to all the festival people like, hey, we got this exciting film coming to town, check it out. And I think that goes a long way. So if you're even no matter where you're at, I feel like so many young filmmakers have films that they've created that they're passionate about. You also have to learn to sell it. You have to sell sell it to people, sell it to festivals, even if you're just starting out, because that's super important. And then now, like you said, with the awards, getting all these all the awards in the festivals, yes, it has been opening doors. If someone looks up my stuff, where I say, hey, now when we're doing this film on the Kickstarter or to any studio or something, I'll say, you know what, this is our first feature, but we also did this short film at NYU that ended up, people ended up liking. These are all the awards. Here's the trailer. So you kind of build a little bit of momentum, and this is all theoretical. We're not in, but it's just how I want to market the film, and I think it's all important. Building a resume of stuff, so to speak. And even then, it might not matter. Some people get lucky, get opportunity, but in different ways. But for me, the way that I see it, and the way that I would recommend for other young filmmakers, is whatever stage you're at, if you create something, submit it to festivals, see if you can submit it to free festivals, or email people, or spread the word for your film, because there's a reason you created it, and
right.
So
yeah.
Anyway.
I'm interested also in one of the comments we have that I want to display, which is, how do you teach a new person like the feeling of a good cut, or how to know the scene is tight, or pretty much like, how do you just know that your film is good, right? Like, how do you quantify that? Or I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
The film is good. For me, you don't. I mean, I'm always super scared anytime anything's screened. I'm like, it feels really good. And this is the same for writers too. I hear a lot where, or screenwriters, you'll get late at night, burning the midnight oil, you'll write like a really scene you think is genius. And the next day you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever written. So, it's a little akin to that. And there was, I think it was Martin Scorsese, also NYU alum. He had said, a lot of I'm really pitching. Yeah, go to NYU now.
Yeah, seriously, NYU. You're a big fan.
But he was saying you're like, you're not a good filmmaker or something, or unless you're in the screening room and you're like about to throw up after everyone's watching your first cut. That's when you're like, you're really, you care about your work or something like that. I think that's what it was. So it's really, it's really, that's absolutely fantastic question. The feeling of a good cut. I think it's both. Like, you should be able to show it to somebody and, get a second opinion. And it's tough where you're editing 100 times, you're seeing the same exact thing over and over and over. So once you get the hang of, depending on what your experience level is, once you get the hang of editing and you kind of know, okay, this looks good, this flows well. There's like a couple techniques which will ground you, where it's like, cut on motion too. Like, if you're moving, something like that, you'll kind of get, you'll get the hang of the technical things, and you can kind of let that guide your cuts. Don't be afraid of the material itself to guide your cut. Like, let's say, there was a screw up on set, you missed an angle, let that guide, where you get to. At the end of the day, it's all about creating the best film. Oh, you guys switched angles.
Yeah,
switch cams.
There's a cut right there.
Yeah, but was that a good one or a bad one? I don't know.
I'd have to go back and see. There's another thing where it's like, if you're doing a jump cut, it should be like a 50% difference in the frame to frame. Like, it should either be zoomed in by 50% or a 50% new angle, something like that. But zoom in. But yeah, don't be afraid to let the material guide your cuts.
Yeah.
And it's really something where you do a bunch of it. Like, you can't really teach someone how to edit. You can teach someone how to use the software, but you can't teach someone how to tell a story, through the edit. So I would say, just get your hands dirty, edit, 10 different projects, 20 different short projects. And suddenly you'll be like, okay, I have all these clips. I've already kind of see in my mind how this is all going to play out. I remember very distinctly when I did my first short film like ever, called Crisis Blue, which was an action film inspired by The Matrix. And I was like, I remember getting there, I had written this crazy huge script because I had thought, oh, it's all about, you just follow the steps, you just write a script, and then you're good. You get the camera and you're good. And then I remember on the balcony of this house, like with the camera out, I'm like, wait a minute, how do you cut? Where is this gonna, like, what's the next shot? And I was like, oh my God. So that was a big, a wake-up call, and then I realized just by doing it, you do several things, you're gonna know, okay, this makes sense. This is what let other work inform you too, and you can build your own style. I mean, there's books and videos you can read. Just do it. Edit a bunch of stuff, and you'll feel how you should edit, and that's your voice as a storyteller. Hopefully that's helpful. But really, it's every element of film, and the reason I like it is it's all storytelling. I know that sounds kind of esoteric maybe, but it's like, you make the music, you make like all these, like, you could fill a museum, right, with the stuff that's created for every movie. You could create like a body cast or some prop or something that belongs in MoMA, but you're putting it on screen, and every little thing comes together, and it's it's this big production, and every element you're putting in your own voice and your own style. So and
that's
you'll I don't know.
No, I think that's true. It's just putting yourself out there and just trying something. And I mean, like, maybe also like the feeling of a good cut could be back to like the storytelling part of, like, do you feel like it accurately portrays the story or the emotions you're trying to evoke or something?
Yeah, or subverts the story you're trying to play. It makes you feel uneasy.
Yeah. I'm also curious, I guess this is going back to like filmmaking versus content creation. Are they the same? Are they different? It feels like you're putting a lot of time and energy into like creating these films, like longer films, whether it's like a short film or a feature film. They're generally longer than like a TikTok or a YouTube video. I guess, have you thought of kind of going and doing more of like social media content creation at all?
Yes, I think it's such a, social media is such a fascinating thing. I mean,
Yeah.
storytelling is everything, right? And maybe that's a little too bold of a statement, but there's an we're social creatures, and then every element of our life interaction, whatever, is an element of storytelling. The way we speak, the way we talk and interact. And I think it's, social media itself is awesome that we can express. I feel like this is totally different from your question.
No.
But
I'm here.
social media is cool that you can, like, anyone can be a storyteller suddenly. Suddenly, like, I see so many people out there who have incredible ideas and such genuine creativity or iterative, creativity, because, like they say, great artists feel, blah, 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 so it's like different iterations. But everyone's like kind of just sharing their creativity and exercising that muscle. And I think that's what's cool about it. Like TikTok, if you can do 100, TikToks with different stories that, show something cool, and then you can get instant feedback from people saying, that's hilarious, I love your humor style.
That's true.
You can do a feature tomorrow, you just string everything together, maybe embolden the story a little bit. So yeah, I mean, social media, there is definitely like a crossover. I have been wanting to do something that, involves social media and social storytelling. At this point, I really have to focus on doing the documentary the best way that, that it should be. And then I think I'm going to use, like, market the documentary through social media. I think that's going to be very, very important.
That's right.
And sharing it, because that's where everybody's at.
Good
not
man.
too many people
Now you've got to do that. For real.
So
Short form is everything. Like, I feel like for any project these days, like whether it's a YouTube channel or a gaming live stream or a feature film or like anything, like short form is the way to get eyes on it, no matter what it is.
Yes.
So yeah.
Agreed.
Support that.
And there is, there's a lot of artistry out there. It was actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you another story. The animator that's working with us on the documentary, because there's certain elements where the stories are so incredible for the feature film about this guy who lived on the streets homeless with him and his dog, literally like next to drains and stuff in the 70s, 80s New York, which was like insane. Some of the stuff, like I didn't believe it, and then he showed me video footage of it actually happening. Like they said, oh yeah, there was a riot and they drove a tank down 14th, across 14th Street. I'm like, that's ridiculous. And it's like a Vietnam era tank, and then like he shows me a video of the tanks like coming down the street. I'm like, what? So he has a lot of crazy stories, and some of them can't really, if there's no video like for those stories, we wanted them to still be illustrated. So I was scrolling through TikTok, and suddenly I saw this animator, and she had some incredible work, and I was like really blown away. And then suddenly I sent a message. I said, hey, are you interested in working on this crazy project? I sent like this manic massive paragraph of this thing, and I was like, all right, I'm never going to hear back, this is too much information. And then they respond and they're like, oh, that sounds amazing, let's chat. And then now they're doing the animation for the film. So that's
cool.
going to be seen soon, some of that work. But I was just, that's the power of social media to connect people. And it's almost like a calling card too. If you have a talent, if you have something unique, suddenly if you're also a fellow creator, you can see someone doing something and be like, hey, let's collab. And it could even be a collaboration like on a feature film, or maybe even starting something else. Fun stuff. Power of the modern age of storytelling.
Yeah. Adam, I'm really excited to see
the
trailer and the feature film. Can you explain where people can find that once it's out? I've linked your IMDb in the description, but I want to make sure that you tell the people the correct place to look when it's ready.
Of course. Instagram at Adam Juegos. I will be definitely posting there under the story. And any if you check out keep track of the IMDb page, because I'll be posting a little bit about it there. And yeah, I mean, we'll do like a formal announcement soon, and hopefully get some press, something going on, talking, people talking, and yeah, we'll take it from there. We'll be posting very soon about that.
Sweet.
Super exciting.
Yeah, I'll make sure to link your Instagram in the description right after this is done. So make sure to everyone check out his Instagram. We want to support Adam. Super excited to see this film.
Yeah.
And congratulations. I mean, this is a big moment for you. So
thank you very much. I appreciate that, and hope everyone enjoys the trailer and the film when it's out.
Yeah.
And hopefully
Sweet.
I could,
For sure.
shed some light on the process and filmmaking and all this exciting stuff.
Sweet. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up our
Yeah.
episode today. Thank you guys so much
Woo.
for watching. Adam, thank you for coming. Super awesome to talk to you. Really excited to see your film. Hope all of you guys have a very good weekend. We'll see you every Friday at 10 o'clock
PST.
a.m. PST, 1 o'clock p.m. EST every week,
Yep, that's
every
right.
Friday. We'll be back here. So make sure to come on back if you're watching. Thank you guys so much. Adam, thanks again.
Adam.
Thank you. You guys are the best.
Sweet.
Take
All right,
care.
we'll
and
talk
good luck
to you
with
soon.
the.
Bye,
all right.
all.
Take care.